And we're back with Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. She is a member of Democratic leadership, and she joins us this morning from Minneapolis. Good morning to you, Senator.
Thanks, Margaret. Great to be on again.
Well, we just heard from my colleague Robert Costa that the president indicated to him the likelihood of a shutdown and with that potentially mass firings. Do you think this is posturing, or do you worry your fellow Democrats are walking into a trap?
I am glad the president has finally agreed to meet with the leadership in Congress. He canceled the meeting last week, which I think was a big mistake, because this is an opportunity for the country because of one big problem, and that is that the Republicans have created a healthcare crisis. My constituents, Americans, are standing on a cliff right now with these insurance premium increases that are upon them. So Democrats are united in pushing on this and saying, look, let us do something about this crisis before it is too late. 75% increase in premiums starting November 1st on people who are small business owners, people who are farmers out there, twice as much in the rural areas. So that's what this is about to us. And the president prides himself in the art of a deal. This is the moment for him to meet with Democrats and come to an agreement.
So those premiums go up November 1st. You're talking about the extension of the health care subsidies, but insurance companies plan that year out. So these premiums are already priced in here. Why not agree
Margaret,
to
what we know is that
government...
these tax, if I could just, okay, go ahead. The tax credits are what really could make a difference here for people because of the fact that we know these premiums hit November 1st. Getting this done now is a now thing. It's not a December thing. It's not a January thing. It's not an off-ramp. It is something we have to get done now. As one of my farmers that I met with out in rural Minnesota said when looking at the president's tariffs and looking at what's happened in farm country, 5-year high in small farm bankruptcy, he said it's a perfect storm of ugly. That's where we are with the economy right now, and that's where we are pushing on what is one of the biggest cost drivers for Americans in addition to groceries and electricity prices going up. It's healthcare.
But to be clear, you couldn't take the 7-week funding and then negotiate that. You're saying it has to be agreed to right now.
We believe this is a now problem, and while we are eager to talk with Senator Thune, I know Senator Schumer is, to get this moving, in the end, we know that they are a rubber stamp for what the president wants. Not everyone's like Rand Paul going off in his own direction and talking about the debt out of the big, beautiful bill. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he's right about that debt. He's right about what happened with that bill. Most of them are just going to rubber stamp what President Trump says. That's why it was so important to get this meeting, and I hope he sees it not as the president, not as political theater, but as real people who are facing a crisis right now, whether it's in the cities, the suburbs, or the rural areas of America.
You sit on the Judiciary Committee, so I want to ask you about what's happening right now. Earlier this month, the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, resigned after failing to bring a case against New York Attorney General Letitia James. We just spoke about her with Robert Costa. Monday, Lindsay Halligan was sworn in as the interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. She has never prosecuted a case before. 3 days into this new job, she moved forward with the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey on 2 counts. Have you spoken to your fellow Republicans on the Judiciary Committee? Do they have concerns about what's happening in Virginia?
Well, I plan on doing that this week. And what I see this as a former prosecutor myself, this is weaponizing the Justice Department, basically taking a career prosecutor who was recommended by the Republican governor of the state of Virginia, clearly has Republican roots, who made a decision based on the evidence over a period of months, made a decision. Then he's pushed out, forced out, so that the president can install his own aide into the job. When I questioned Attorney General Bondi during her confirmation hearing, she assured me that politics would not play a role, that they would make independent decisions. That is not what this is. This is a vengeance prosecution. It is not about the law.
You also worked on investigating January 6, 2021, and the attack in the United States Capitol. FBI Director Kash Patel yesterday said publicly 274 FBI agents were, quote, thrown into crowd control on that day against FBI standards. President Trump also said publicly that FBI agents acted as agitators who were secretly placed against all rules, regulations, protocols, and standards into the crowd prior to and during the attack. This contradicts what the Inspector General said in a published report that said there was no evidence of undercover employees in the crowd, and that there were hundreds of special agents and employees who came in after the Capitol Hill police asked for them. This is now newly in focus because the president put the focus there. What was the role of the FBI that day?
I chaired the investigation of the security problems along a bipartisan investigation with Senator Peters and then Senator Blunt and Senator Portman. This went on. We had a number of open hearings, and we made major recommendations for changes at the Capitol. And nowhere was it found that the FBI was acting as agitators. In fact, they were called in when there was such a delay in bringing in the military to assist in what was essentially an insurrection, where over 100 police officers were injured or maimed because of this criminal activity at the Capitol. So I just find it appalling that the president would say that the FBI was somehow part of this. Kash Patel did clarify that, in fact, they were brought in after the fact, but they were brought in because we needed help. Senators, Republicans, and Democrats were calling the military leaders. They were calling the Attorney General. They were asking for help because that help was not coming to the Capitol. Yep. And everyone has seen those facts.
Senator, thank you for your insight there. We'll be watching what happens here as the president tweeted both of those things and in reference to former Director Chris Wray.